friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a card using Lawn Fawn's A Little Sparkle. So I'm stamping out the unicorn, the fairies, and the wand with Memento Tuxedo black ink, and then I'm going to stamp the front-facing fairy a second time. I'm coloring with my Copic markers today, and starting with my unicorn, I'm going to take E40 and add a little bit of outline to her body and some shadow as well, just to give her a little bit of depth so she's not stark white. And then I'm going to take R00, R20, and R22, and I'm going to color in some of her mane and tail. So I'm just picking out little sections and adding that R22 first. That's going to be my darkest shade. And I'm going to pull that out with the R20 and then fill in that little bit with the R00. I also did color in the inside of her ears with that R20. Then I'm taking G00, G02, and YG05 for the next stripe in her mane and tail. And I know that these aren't from the same families. I've got some greens and some yellow greens, but I'm trying to match the pattern paper that I'll be using, and it had kind of this warm-toned green that wasn't quite the yellow green, so I just thought I would mix the combination to come up with my own shade. And then for the last stripe, I'm using BV11, V15, and V17. And again, just trying to match that pattern paper. So I started with the V17 as my darkest, and then blending out with the V15, and then filling in with the BV11. And I also colored in the fairies' dresses with each of those three shades as well. I'll use Y11, Y13, and Y15 for her horn, and that's also going to be the shade of the fairy's hair. And I use the two darker shades, the Y15 and Y13, to color in her hooves, so they have kind of a golden color. I'm using E51 for the fairy's skin, and then R11 to give the unicorn a little rosy cheek. And then I'm going to knock that back with that E40 that I used at the beginning, and then I can trim these out with the matching dies. So I'm going to be using the same card sketch that I used on the dinosaur card a couple videos ago, but I wanted to show you guys how to alter a card sketch today. So I'm taking the idea of those stripes, and instead of doing a straight across, I'm going to curve them a little and create a rainbow. So that's my first alteration of the original sketch. Instead of the straight lines, I'm going to curve them, but they're still going to go across the card, and they're still going to go from the top right-hand side to the lower left. The next thing that I'm switching up about the card sketch is the amount of stripes. So in the original sketch, there are 3, and I decided to change it up to make it 5 so that I could have more colors and create more of a rainbow. So there's lots of different ways that you can alter your card sketches and really get creative with them. They're meant to be a jumping off point to inspire you, but they don't have to be taken quite so literally all the time. You can mix things up, you can change up the shape, you can flip them on their side. So I thought I would just give you a few pointers on that today. So there is actually a rainbow die from Lawn Fawn. I don't happen to own it, so what I did to create mine was I took the largest of the simple stitched hillside borders. It has a really nice curve to it, and I simply die cut it twice. So I die cut it at the top of the sheet of paper to give me the top curve, and then I lowered it just slightly to cut off the second curve. So I get a nice stitching line on each of those. And I just eyeballed it. I didn't measure at all. And then I just line those up so that they're nice and flush. So now you can see how that compares. The next part of the sketch that I'm going to be altering is that center portion that was in a circular shape. So I'm not going to do a circle on my card, but I'm going to kind of stick within the idea of that. I have the curve of the inside of the rainbow that kind of makes a circular pattern. And then I'm going to block off another little section on the lower part with these clouds. So it definitely doesn't make up a circle, but it still gives you that center visual focal point. So I just used a couple of the Spring Showers dies to create that. There's 2 larger ones and then a medium cloud. And then I'm going to take the pair of scissors and just trim off all the excess so that all of my papers are nice and flush with the edges of the card. And you can see how that's coming together now. Next, I'm going to pop my card in my MISTI, and I'm going to be stamping my sentiment. This is another part that I'm altering. Instead of using a banner, I'm just going to stamp my sentiment in the area that it is on the card sketch, which in this case it's going to be on that largest cloud on the right. I use Lawn Fawn Merman ink to stamp out Hip Hip Hooray from the Tiny Tag Sang's birthday, and then a couple of sparkle marks as well from A Little Sparkle. On the inside of the card, I'm going to stamp the sentiment that comes in that little mini set, and it says, "Hope your day sparkles." I also added the 2 fairies and left the little sparkle marks exactly where they were on the front of the card. So now I'm going to adhere my images, and I'm taking the Lawn Fawn glue tube to add a little liquid glue to the back of my unicorn. I want to have her looking like she's climbing the clouds, so I have her back feet tucked into the smaller cloud and then her front feet overlapping the larger cloud. Then I'm going to add a couple of dots of glue to the card and set the fairies into place on top of that. I think that's the easiest way to adhere them since they're so tiny. I'm going to do the same for the little wand and then the fairy that's going at the top of the card. And here is where I'm altering my card for the last time. In the top right corner of the sketch, it has a little trio of hearts, and on my card that's going to be represented by the fairy and the wand and those 3 little sparkle marks. As a final embellishment, I'm going to take a bunch of these tiny iridescent stars from Pretty Pink Posh. And just like I did with the fairies, I'm going to add some dots of glue wherever I want those little stars to go. And then I'm going to pick them up one by one with my pick-me-up tool. I find this is the easiest way to grab them. It has a little putty in the tip, and then it has the little tool that comes out of the back that helps you kind of press them down into the glue. They're super tiny, so they'd be really hard to pick up with your fingertips, especially if you don't have long fingernails like I don't. So I'm just picking them up, setting them in the glue, nice and easy. And then once I have these in place, I will reevaluate and see if I want to add any more or if I like the way that it's looking. And I did decide to go in and add just a couple extra. I felt like that right corner needed a little bit more at the top there. I wanted to overlap the rainbow and also add one to the larger cloud with the sentiment. And the great thing about these stars is that they're so super tiny that they really are a subtle embellishment that packs a lot of punch when you tip them into the light. So I'm also going to add a little bit of my favorite crystal stickles, just a little bit on the unicorn's horn and hooves, and also to all 3 of the fairies' wings. And that is going to complete my card for today. I'm going to lift that up and tip it into the light so you can see how much it sparkles. And I'm also going to give you another peek at the inside. So I really like how this card came out, and I think it was a fun interpretation of the original sketch. You definitely can see that there is similarities there, but I went in my own direction, and that's the fun thing about card sketches. So I hope you'll give that a try. I hope you guys picked up some different tips and things that you can do to make a card sketch your own. So thank you guys so much for watching. Here's a couple extra videos that I thought you might also be interested in. So you can click on either one of those if you'd like to continue watching. You can also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would love to have your support. And you can always click that notification bell if you want to be sure that my videos always end up in your feed. Thanks again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.